What's next for Devin Haney? As a promoter, Eddie Hearn, I'm not sure how much power he has on the decision on who Devin Haney should fight, but I assume that he has a little bit of power since he's the one that's putting the money. I did hear that Devin Haney against Nº²⁴, according to a tweet that he did to Sean O'Malley, he made $6 million on that fight. So let's say that he makes X amount with Eddie Hearn. That means that not all fights that maybe Devin Haney wants are going to be capable to be under that promotion. Why? Because if he signed a contract and Eddie Hearn has to pay him X amount, he has to fight certain fighters so they could meet the expectations on the pay-per-views so Devin Haney could get paid. This fight reminded me of a movie 20 years ago, and the movie had this boxer named James Roper. The character was James Roper, and they couldn't find a boxer to create pay-per-view numbers, audience, and so on, that they had to go find somebody that beat them in the amateurs. They had to hype him up. At the same time, Roper gained weight. He was not acting properly, like kind of weird, kind of like Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia came overweight. He also was acting kind of weird. He was basically selling the fight. In that movie with James Roper, aka the Green Reaper, was the Great White Hype. If anybody's seen that movie, it kind of reminded me of that. Overweight, he came up and he won the fight. He basically stunned everybody that was rooting against him. There was a little kid in a wheelchair with a little Irishman flag, dropped it. I do recommend watching it. As for Devin Haney, he did hit the canvas, as you can see in the photo, no diddy. After the fight, I believe it was the following day, they had a cake. And they were saying, and still. I'm not sure why they did that. 4 candles. I'm not sure the significance of the 4 candles. Maybe they meant 3, since he got knocked down 3 times in the fight. Those 2 things are irrelevant. But now, if I'm Eddie Hearn and I have the decision to pick Devin Haney's road, since I'm the one that is putting the money on the table, and since Devin Haney did say that he made $6 million on the Nº²⁴, that tells me that X amount has to be made on the fight. I'm not sure how much was it on pay-per-view shares and how much was it on the fight alone. The top 3, if I'm Eddie Hearn, on the path of Devin Haney, the number 1 is fight someone irrelevant. But at the same time, there has to be money on the table, meaning that he might not be the primary fight. He might be the undercard fight, the co-main event, but he is not going to be the main fight. Even though he's a champion, there's a lot of champions do not fight as the main event. Fight someone irrelevant, but build yourself back up. Number 2, fight Ryan Garcia, and you have to make weight. Eddie Hearn, I saw a video on him saying that he should have weighed Ryan Garcia on the day of or right after he missed weight. But at the same time, let's face it, as Eddie Hearn, the promoter, he wants that fight. Why? Because he already invested on the arena, the pay-per-views, Matchroom, the Zon, etc. It's hard to say right now that he was going to stop the fight. I don't see him stopping the fight. I didn't see Devin Haney stopping the fight for that same reason. There's money involved that's already invested that you might lose. Like I mentioned, the arena and everybody flying there. I'm not sure, is that going to backfire later on with Devin Haney if he's trying to get a fight? Since there's a risk that he might decline another fight if the person doesn't make weight, or whatever scenario it is, that there's a risk if they would have declined the fight for the 3 pounds. Number 3, and this is the path that I will take if I'm Eddie Hearn and if I have the power to do it, and that is to keep the belts on the promotion. What do I mean with that? Devin Haney is in Matchroom, and I have another fighter on the same weight class with the IBF title, and that is Subriel Matias. If I'm Eddie Hearn, I'll try to keep those bouts on my promotion. I will try to get Devin Haney to fight Subriel. There's a good possibility, I'll say 90% possibility, that Subriel will beat Devin. You keep the bouts under Matchroom. And Devin Haney, I don't know how many fights his contract is, but that will let him leave, and you keep the bouts. If he has 2 fights, I do recommend an easy fight, but still a name, since I forgot who he has to fight, who's his mandatory under his bout, that he could fight next, and then fight Subriel Matias. And you could still generate a little bit of profit, but like I said, it's supposed to be an undercard fight, and then fight Subriel Matias. And yes, keep the bouts, make the money, since you have both fighters under your umbrella, and that's the way I think Eddie Hearn should handle it. Now that I covered the 3 scenarios that I think Eddie Hearn should think about, one thing that I do recommend Devin Haney, and I know I'm not a financial advisor or anything, but he should start saving his money. I remember when Brandon Moreno was being interviewed by Eric Morales on YouTube, since Eric Morales has a podcast. Eric Morales was a champion back in the day in boxing. Brandon Moreno is a UFC fighter. And Eric Morales told Brandon Moreno one thing that is stuck on me, and that is that he told Brandon Moreno, as soon as you lose, the lights will go off. The people that are calling you will no longer call you. And that's what Devin Haney is going to encounter. At the same time, like I said, this is not financial advice. I think he should start saving money. I know he likes Rolex. He likes the fancy lifestyle. That I think that he needs to plan ahead. Because with this loss, and I know that one loss doesn't mean a lot, but I feel like he's the weakest link out of 5 fighters on that weight class or one weight class below, with Tank, Teofimo, Pitbull. We'll add Shakur and Matias. He's the weakest link. I think he should just understand that maybe 1 more loss or 2 more losses, that's it for him. So I do recommend him to start saving, start planning, because as soon as he loses again, the lights might go off. The people calling him, they're going to stop calling him. And next thing you know, he's going to know who his real friends are, and his investments are going to be gone, including the promoter with Eddie Hearn. And that's all I got. I think he should plan. And if I'm Eddie Hearn, that's my plan for Devin Haney. He's not the first guy that suffered a loss with Eddie Hearn, by the way. I remember when he signed Joshua, he lost. I felt like that was it. Eddie Hearn was not going to make his money back. The good thing is Joshua managed to fight Francis, the UFC fighter, crossed to boxing, and that generated money. And maybe a miracle like that might happen to Devin Haney, but I doubt it. And that's all I got. Save money, Eddie Hearn decision. Thank you. Thank you for watching.